Hello everyone, my name is Anthony Puharich. I'm the CEO of our family business, Vic's Premium Quality Meat. What we do a year, Costco might do in the first hour of business around the world. So we're certainly not Costco. I am stoked to be here, celebrating 100 years of the Angus Society. It's pretty amazing. We should all get drunk tonight in celebration of that. I'm sure we all will. A massive milestone. Hopefully they've got enough alcohol in Albury tonight. It is a really important milestone. Our business has built its reputation on Angus beef, so I'm quite fortunate and I feel very, very grateful to sort of be here and share our story and tell you a little bit about our business, and I suppose the impact and the influence that Angus beef has had on our business. I'm a little bit nervous. Marcel's a hard act to follow. You've certainly done that before, Marcel. Like, that was high energy. It felt like, there was moments there that it felt like a session in Hillsong for the meat industry. You know what I mean? Like, it was, that was high energy. So just with, I suppose, the 100-year milestone, obviously all of us sort of know, Bob Hawke, he sort of passed away last week, and Bob was a legend. There's never been a politician like him, and I'm sure all of us will sort of famously remember when we won the America's Cup. And Bob decreed that that if any boss sacked somebody because they didn't go to work that day, that they were a bum. Now I don't know, Liz, about the Angus Society or whatever, but I think you guys have sort of sold yourself short, because I reckon if there's any Australian that doesn't eat a piece of Angus beef today, they're a bum. So I'm not sure what you got in store in terms of that, but we should certainly be sort of celebrating this amazing sort of product. So like I said, I'm the CEO of our family business. And in the past, I suppose I'll sort of stand up here for about 30 minutes, maybe even 30 days, and tell you about our business and our story and who we are and what we're all about. But the marketing department at Vic's Meat has got the better of me, and recently they pulled together a short video that goes for about 4 minutes that summarises, I suppose, the 23-year history of our family business, but the 4 generations of butchers that have sort of come before me. I'm a 5th generation butcher. So I'm going to play the video, and that'll give you a bit of an insight, a better insight, I suppose, in terms of who we're all about, what we're all about, who we are as a family, as a business. So hopefully I don't have the same technical difficulties that Marcel had. Unlike Costco, I organised the satellite to sort of be directly above us here in Albury, so that we don't have that same sort of problem that he did.
This country produces the most remarkable product in the world. My whole life revolves around food and my love and passion for food. I love what I do. I love the people that I work with. It's what gets me out of bed every morning. It's what drives me. It's what challenges me. It's not work for me. It's an incredible journey. From such humble beginnings, we've now become one of the biggest meat wholesalers in Australia. We always remind ourselves of our roots and our background and where we started and where we came from, and butchery is in my blood. I'm a 5th generation butcher, and my father's been a passionate butcher for close to 50 years of his life.
I still love what I do. I don't want to retire. Definitely I don't want to retire. I come to Australia, I was 18 and a half.
So I came here with basically the shirt on his back and didn't know anyone here, didn't know the language, nothing, but had one really important quality, and that was, he had this amazing work ethic.
I arrived on Sunday, and on Monday I went to work.
The idea to start Vic's Meat was born over the dinner table at home, and in February 1996, my father and I started Vic's Premium Quality Meat. In those early days, it was just survival. We kept improving and just keeping everything going and afloat.
Maybe about 12 months after starting in a butcher shop, we looked for the bigger facility because the business was just growing.
The heart of what we've got in the production facility is this custom-made butcher's line where all 8 of our qualified, skilled butchers trim and prepare all of the meat. We're really using cutting-edge technology, but without losing the heart and soul of our family business and the very traditional old-fashioned approach that we've got to sort of the craft of butchery. We've invested very heavily in new software and new technology. We use RFID technology in order to track and trace every single piece of meat that goes through our facility. What it's ultimately doing is bringing the farmer that one step closer to our customer, because there's just that complete transparency all the way through from paddock to plate. Our suppliers are literally the backbone of our business.
There's a lot of trust there when you're dealing with a company to do the best they can in marketing your brand and our work, and Vic's do that better than anyone. Through Vic's, we're able to put our product on menus in some of the best restaurants in Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane.
You know, are the best providors in Australia without doubt.
They are the best supporter of premium brands.
There is no chance in the world that we could be the great company that we are without their support, without their product, without their passion, without their commitment to what they do.
He comes here to learn the story so that he can talk to the restaurants and the chef, and he's got an unbelievable relationship directly with the chefs. That's really, really important.
Vic's Meats is family. It's cooking family, chef family, and his family, so it's my family.
Vic's Meat, at the end of the day, source the best meat in the country.
You can get all of your great produce with a great story, all in one place.
Quality, integrity, great service.
The best quality that there is around, actually.
They represent the best of the primary producing industry, and that is represented on the best tables in the best restaurants in the country.
There's a lot of ethics and a strong ethos in terms of what we do as a family and as a business. Our business has grown into one of the largest wholesalers of meat in Australia, and despite that though, what's really important to us are our family values and continuing our family tradition and our family business.
Four generations, 5, including me, of what we're all about as a business and a family. So I hope you've got a much deeper and better understanding of who we are as a family. And look, unlike, to a certain extent, unlike Costco, I suppose, for our business, it's not about buying the cheapest or at the lowest price and selling it at the lowest price. As a business, we've certainly built a reputation not only on quality, which the Angus breed and the Angus brand has been a cornerstone of. We've built a reputation for actually paying the best price or the highest price that the producer, the farmer, whoever is sort of sourcing or supplying product to us for. And that's something that I'm proud of, because there's no such thing as sustainability unless primary producers and farmers are profitable. And I'd like to think in one very small way, apart from doing an amazing job of marketing and branding and telling the story of the Angus breed and the Angus brand, that we're always out there paying fair value and a premium price for Angus beef, and then convincing our customers, both retail and restaurants and chefs and food service, to pay that premium to tell that story. I don't know how many of you might have noticed all the different looks and changes: long hair, short hair, facial hair, no facial hair, tattoos. Like the video, I think George Lucas produced the Star Wars trilogy in a shorter amount of time than it took us to sort of produce that video. But it was a major production, and I want to just a quick shout out to the technical guy down the back who's been sweating all afternoon about the video not playing because it was such a big file. You did an amazing job. I'm going to buy you a beer tonight. So I've been asked to talk about a couple of things. One of them is sort of how Angus beef preparation has sort of changed in that wholesale and retail environment over the years, and I suppose over the last 23 years that we've been in business. And it's changed significantly. And the really good news is that it's all changed for the better. So what's changed in terms of preparing beef, both in a wholesale food service environment and at a retail level? It's become all about using the whole animal, respecting the whole animal. At the end of the day, my family and I are in the business of slaughtering an animal in order to butcher it and then sell it. And the philosophy that binds the way that we do business as a family and as butchers is that if we're going to slaughter an animal, the ultimate respect that we can show that animal is to use every single part of it. So that's why now, and I'm sure a lot of you will recall and remember, that's why now beef cheeks and tails are more expensive than rumps. That these sort of secondary cuts, as they're referred to, your briskets and your short ribs and your flank steaks and your cheeks and all that sort of stuff, they're in very, very high demand. There's a premium price being paid for those cuts out in the marketplace because of all the education that sort of happened and because of the courage that people have now got to sort of cook those sort of cuts in their kitchens. And that's a good thing. I think that's a fantastic thing for the industry because you're getting value across the whole animal. You no longer have to just rely on selling strip loins, cube rolls and tenderloins at a premium price and putting all that pressure just on those 3 cuts. So that's a big, significant change that's sort of happened over the last 23 years that I've been in this industry. A couple of the other sort of great changes, I suppose, that I've noticed and seen over the last sort of 23 years, there's an obsession with quality, there's an obsession with consistency, there's an obsession with marbling, there's an obsession with provenance, traceability, and there's an obsession with the story, the background, where that meat comes from, where that beef is grown, is it grass-fed, is it grain-fed? And I wholeheartedly believe that they've all been fantastic sort of changes that I've observed and seen over the last sort of 23 years. And the Angus breed and the Angus brand has been at the forefront, I suppose, of all of those fantastic changes and has massively benefited from all those sort of changes over the last sort of 23 years. So that's a bit of a quick summary of just sort of some of the observations and some of those sort of changes that I've certainly seen over the last sort of 23 years, which I believe has boded well for the Angus breed and the Angus brand. Just to sort of wrap up and finish, I'm going to just sort of share with you just my own thoughts, I suppose, in and around some of the risks and opportunities that exist for the Angus Society, the Angus breed, and all of you great people out there that are some sort of small or large way involved with this fantastic breed and brand. I could easily sort of stand up here and just keep talking about how amazing Angus is and incredible and all that sort of stuff. But I think there's been enough people that have sort of talked about those sort of aspects of the breed and the brand. If you don't mind, what I'd like to sort of share with you, I suppose, is some of my concerns. Some of them might be controversial. I'm more than happy to be challenged on them. So in terms of risks, pretty obvious one, there is this threat of other breeds. The Angus Society, the Angus breed, the Angus brand has done such an amazing job. And it's the envy of all the other cows in the paddock, your Herefords and your Speckled Parks and your belted Galloways, all that sort of stuff, So there is a growing sort of momentum and interest to sort of develop these other either rare breeds or other types of sort of breeds, which will invariably sort of challenge, I suppose, the strong position that the Angus breed and the Angus brand has held over the last 100 years and plus. So something to sort of consider and think about. But competition, certainly in my line of work, is not a bad thing. It's a good thing, keeps you on your toes, keeps you innovating, and keeps you sort of, just pushing ahead and pushing forward. Another risk that I thought about was brand dilution. I'm sure a lot of you have got an opinion on this. You can literally buy anything Angus nowadays, from a burger at Hungry Jack's or McDonald's to a premium steak at your favourite steak restaurant. And I'm not sure how everybody sort of feels about that. You see it a lot, particularly with cars. Nowadays, you don't need 100 grand or 200 grand to buy a Mercedes-Benz. They've got different categories, different models. You can step into a Mercedes-Benz for $40,000 or $50,000 nowadays. But brand dilution is something that I certainly have a strong opinion on, and something to sort of just be wary of, I suppose, because Angus does tend to appear everywhere. And sometimes it appears on menus because it's just easier for chefs or a butcher just to put Angus on a little ticket or on a menu because they know that it will sell, whether it is actually Angus or not. And I know that the Society does a phenomenal job with their Verified Angus program, and there's amazing brands like Angus Reserve that NH Foods are responsible for. We have an amazing relationship with Michael, and NH Foods will also have an amazing relationship, a very powerful and strong relationship with Ranges Valley, another fantastic and great branded Angus brand, Jack's Creek, obviously. Another risk, just being number one sometimes sucks. I know the feeling. I don't say this arrogantly, but over the last 23 years, our family's carved out a phenomenal reputation for what we've done, what we've created, our focus, our quality, the consistency in which we sort of do things. And it's a very, very long drop and fall from the top. And it's a rewarding and a satisfying feeling when you know that you're the market leader, and Angus is, it's revered and respected. It's the benchmark in terms of branded beef and branded beef programs. Some opportunities. Marcel talked about Grassfed, and I'm not here to knock anybody's strategy in terms of, what they choose to sort of sell in their businesses. But I can sure as hell tell you, 23 years ago when we built the Vic's Meat reputation on grain-fed beef, and literally 99% of what left our facility was grain-fed beef, the bulk of it Angus. That's certainly changed in the last 5 years, to the point that half of what leaves our facility now is grass-fed, the other half being grain-fed. There's a very, very strong demand for particularly premium grass-fed product. I know it sounds a bit shitty talking about grass-fed beef when we're still in the grips of the worst drought in the last 100 years. But there's a demand out there, a very genuine demand. And without getting into too much detail, that demand is primarily driven by the perception, the well-founded perception, the scientifically proven perception that grass-fed beef is healthier and better for you. So I know that our business has promoted and relies very, very heavily on branded grain-fed Angus beef. I mentioned a couple to you just now, Ranges Valley, Angus Reserve from NH Foods, big parts, important parts, big foundation and cornerstones to our sort of business and our success. But unless anybody can prove me otherwise, which I'm more than happy for it to happen, there doesn't seem to be a really strong branded Angus grass-fed program out there. The bulk of the grass-fed, premium grass-fed programs tend to be British bred programs. You saw Matt O'Connor up there. I can't tell our customers that the O'Connor product that we sell is exclusively an Angus product. I have to tell them that it's a British bred product, a grass-fed product, despite the fact that Matt assures me that the bulk of it is Black Angus. And I just feel there's an amazing opportunity based on the sort of the massive shift and the huge interest in grass-fed beef for all of you to have a real good think about potentially focusing a lot of your effort and energy on developing such a program. And I don't mind if it's seasonal. I get it. Grass-fed beef is at its peak between sort of September and, I don't know, February and March. And it's pretty shit house and it's pretty ordinary and it's pretty inconsistent around winter. Our business model is a little bit more flexible than maybe the Costco model, not as rigid. We understand the seasonality of, it's not a widget, it's not a rubber widget that you guys are producing, it's an animal, and you, with all your best endeavours, do your best to produce a very consistent, high quality product. But sometimes stuff happens and it's inconsistent, and we're very sympathetic and understanding and supportive of that. Another opportunity, producers and farmers, no business, I know for a fact, has done more in this area in terms of shining a spotlight on the true heroes. I know that there's celebrity chefs on TV shows and they're the rock stars and all that sort of stuff, but those guys are nobody, no offence Adrian, without the fantastic product that our incredible farmers and producers produce, and all the key stakeholders who are responsible for getting an animal from the paddock onto a plate for everybody to enjoy. And I think there's an amazing opportunity to continue to sort of promote that story. You know, Ranges Valley and Angus Reserve are great brands, and they're well recognised, but I can tell you that a lot of us and a lot of our customers wouldn't know who are the people who are behind those products. And I know I haven't caught up with him, but shit, I've got a mind blank. But Ball Blair, Liz, where's Sammy? I'm going to be buying you about 9 beers in about half an hour tonight. But he amazing person, and you should be put on a pedestal, Sam, not me. I shouldn't be on this stage. Oh, but I think you are going to be on the stage, aren't you, this afternoon? There you go. I'll make sure that they shine the spotlight a little bit brighter on you than they did on me. DOP classification, so designation of origin, a concept that is very, very strong in Europe. It's about protecting the brand. I know that the Angus Society do an amazing job of doing that. In the past, there was a Certified Angus Association, CAAB. I'm not sure that they're around anymore, which is, I feel, a shame, because you guys are the guardians of the breed, the brand. You guys are the police to stop the bastardisation, the ripping off, the counterfeiting that sort of happens and is rife, unfortunately rife in our industry. Like I said earlier, it doesn't take much for somebody to grab a pen and write Angus on a sticker or on a menu. But the damage, the long-term damage that causes, sometimes is irreparable. And I think there's an amazing opportunity to do a lot more work in and around just owning the whole Angus breed brand, as the French did. The French, God bless them, they're bloody difficult, angry, miserable lot, but they stopped the rest of the world using the word champagne. That's why in Australia you can only call it sparkling wine, which is probably why I reckon half of us don't drink it, because champagne just sounds more sexier, sounds more premium. Sparkling wine, give me a beer, Bloody sound like an alcoholic, don't I? So I think there's an amazing amount of work that can be done in that area. So that's it from me. Thank you. Once again, very, very grateful for the opportunity to sort of stand up here for 30 minutes and bullshit you all a little bit. Not as much as Marcel did, but anyway. And thank you to the video guy for making sure my video worked. That was awesome. That's it for me. See you at the bar tonight to celebrate 100 years of the Angus breed, the brand, which we all should be super, I mean, I'd be stuffed, you know. I wouldn't be in business, I can tell you that for a fact, because it's not exciting selling chicken and pork. I'd be stuffed if it wasn't for the Angus brand and the Angus breed. I think all of us have a lot to be grateful for, and we should take this very important moment to celebrate the 100 years of the society. And like I said, if I had my way, block your ears, anyone here from the MLA, because sometimes you do a good job, sometimes you do a shit job, but I would have decreed today to be like every Australian had to eat a piece of Angus beef day type thing. Anyway, that's it. Thank you.
So we've got about 5 minutes if anyone has any questions for Anthony. I'm hoping yep, a few hands are going up. Run, Scott.
Come on, Mike, dude. The way you're walking, I'll only have one question.
Thanks, Anthony. I just want to know, you talked about your perception of beef being a seasonal thing, particularly with the grass-fed, and I just wanted to know, from your perspective as a buyer, do you pay different prices at different times of year? So is buying a seasonal thing, and does that get passed on down the track so that the farmers are always protected?
How do I answer that question? So, like, we will ramp down our purchasing of grass-fed beef during those times of the year that we just know that it's a lot harder and the volume slows down, all that sort of stuff. We're probably paying more around that time of the year for, say, grass-fed product because it is a lot more scarce, and because there are certain people that want it, they'll pay whatever for it. We are so flexible. Block your ears, Michael. We are so flexible in terms of what we're prepared to pay for beef, especially good quality beef. We understand the importance of the relationship. It's not a win-lose type way that we do business. It has to be win-win. And at the moment, you know, like, I don't want to stand up here for 5 minutes and remind everybody of how dire things are looking at the moment and how they're going to pan out over the next 12 or 18 months, but it's going to be tough for all of us, and we all have to sort of stick together, particularly on the domestic market. I know the exporters are doing super well because there's massive overseas interest. The dollar's dropped by 15% over the last couple of months, which has made our product so much more attractive on that overseas market or whatever, but domestically it's going to be tough. Did I answer your question? Thank you.
Any more questions out there? No, well, that's actually going to...
Where'd John Condon go? He's always bloody got a question for me.
Yeah, Food Central have vacated the building. So, once again, everyone, let's thank Anthony for putting up some pretty thought-provoking and bringing up the hard stuff that some people don't necessarily.
Thank you.